Sanat Kumara says, Sanat Kumara uvacha Shivanyadeva Vashyanam Sarvesham api sarvataha Veramatram cha pujartam Shrutam drashtam cha bhurishaha Shiva Matrasya Pujayam Lingam Veram cha drishyate Atastad Bruhi Kalyana Tattvam Me Sadhu Bodhanam. So, it is described that the embodied form alone is often observed in the worship of the deities other than Shiva. If you see other deities, they always are worshipped with a form, but both the Nirakara, that is the Linga Rupam, though Linga is described in the form, it has a shape, it represents the Arupa aspect of that Maheshwara, the formlessness aspect of the formed Maheshwara. If you go to a Shiva temple, you will find both. He is with a form. You will either find Chidambara Nataraja or Ardhanarishwara or the Panchamukha Parameshwara or Soma Skanda, definitely in a Shiva temple, along with the Linga. You will find. And Chidambara Nataraja temple, you will find the Chidambara Nataraja is actually in the Moolasthanam. And then Sarvamangalambika Sameta Pallikondeshwaraya Namaha. He sleeps, he is in the sleeping pose, lying on the lap of Parashakti. That is in the Moola, that is the Moola Vigraha. And also in the Tiruvarur Tyagaraja temple, the Kamalambika Sameta Tiruvarur Tyagaraja, he is with a form in the Moolasthanam. So he is worshipped with a form, and also his formless aspect is that Linga. That is only for Maheshwara. And Sanat Kumara goes on to say, please tell me precisely why Maheshwara alone is worshipped in that formed and formless aspect. Why Maheshwara alone has that formed and formless aspect and not anyone else. Please tell me precisely, making me understand the real truth, oh Nandishwara. Sanat Kumara asks to Nandishwara. And this is recounted, this conversation between, as I mentioned before guys, don't get confused. Sanat Kumara and Nandishwara's conversation is told by Suta Maharshi to the sages. And Nandishwara says, Anuttaramimam prashnam rahasyam brahma lakshanam katayami shivenoktam bhukti yuktasya te naga. He says, in order to answer this question, I can answer this question only by quoting a wonderful story. I cannot answer this question very simply. There is a wonderful story behind this question. Only if I quote that story, you will be able to understand the answer. And Nandishwara Uvacha, he says, Nandikeshwara Uvacha Shrunuvatsa Bhavat Pritya Vakshyami Paramartataha Pura Kalpe Mahakale Prapanne Loka Vishrute Ayudyetam Mahatmano Brahma Vishnu Parasparam. Oh, dear Sanat Kumara, you have asked a very wonderful question. So, I am going to quote you a story. I am going to talk about a I am going to quote a very wonderful story. In the very famous, in the famous first kalpa, he says Pura Kalpe. Long ago, in the first kalpa, Pura Kalpe, Nandikeshwara mentions that Brahma and Vishnu fought with each other for supremacy. Brahma and Vishnu were fighting together for supremacy. And then he goes on to say, Tayormanam nirakartum tanmadye parameshwaraha Nishkala Sthamba rupena swarupam samadarshayat Tatakswalinga chinhatvat stambato nishkalam shivaha swalingam darshayamasa jagatam hitakam yaya. And in order to eradicate their ahankara, as we saw, Mahadeva is described as the destroyer of ahankara. He is not bound by the sattva, rajas and tamas gunas. Brahma and Vishnu are bound by the tamo guna and they are fighting in ahankara. It all starts off with ahankara. Ahankaram, a Jivatma should never have an Ahankara when approaching Mahadeva. Only through humbleness you can understand Parameshwara, not through Ahankara. And Parameshwara showed, the formed Parameshwara showed his unembodied Nishkala form. He showed his Arupa aspect. He appeared in the column of fire in front of Brahma and Vishnu. And also with a desire to bless the worlds. And that time, from that time onwards, Parameshwara is worshipped in that Arupa aspect and also in the formed, embodied aspect. So, this embodied form of Mahadeva and also the disembodied form, that is the Linga, that alone will give moksha. That alone will bestow auspiciousness, enjoyment and salvation. Whereas other murtis, by worshipping Brahma, Vishnu and Indra, one cannot acquire moksha. He says this. शिवान्येषक्तु देवानां बेरमात्रं प्रकल्पितं तत्तद्बेरं तु देवानां तत्तद्भोगप्रदं शुभं शिवस्य लिङ्गबेरत्वं भोगमोक्षप्रदं शुभं. See, Mahadeva alone can grant vimochanam. We saw that whichever god you worship, Brahma, Vishnu or Indra, they will divert you to Mahadeva finally. So, he says that only both auspiciousness, enjoyment and salvation can be acquired by worshipping Mahadeva alone and not anyone else. Nandikeshwara says that to Sanat Kumara. And then the next chapter, 6th chapter of the Vidyeshwara Samhita, Nandikeshwara details the fight of Brahma and Vishnu. Nandikeshwara uvacha evam hi vedatostatra mugdayo rajayostada ahameva varonatvam aham prabhuhu parasparam hantu kamau chakratuk samarodhyamam. He says, Brahma was saying, I am your Lord, O Vishnu. Both of them appeared, and they appeared by the grace of Maheshwara only. And Brahma had vision of Vishnu, Vishnu had vision of Brahma. Brahma said, I am your Lord, Vishnu, please fall at my feet and worship me. And Vishnu said, I am your Lord, O Brahma, you have to fall at my feet and worship me. I cannot do that. And here, our dear Nandishwara describes, they were fighting like two foolish goats, desirous of killing each other. They were fighting like two foolish goats actually. Why goat? Goat is actually described as the lowest of all animals. And that's why Daksha, when Veerabhadra cut the head of Daksha, after that Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, begged, Oh Mahadeva, please give back the life to my husband. And then Mahadeva gives the head of a goat to Daksha. And then Daksha falls at the feet of Maheshwara. So like that, goat is, they say Manda Buddhi. So it doesn't have Buddhi. So that's why, and Nandikeshwara says, compares Brahma and Vishnu to be foolish goats. Two foolish goats. They were fighting with each other and they were even ready to kill each other. And then our dear Mahadeva looks at this. Virajam, the Parakailasha is described, and how Mahadeva is sitting in Parakailasha is described. He is present in the hearts of all the living entities. He is present in the hearts of the Devas also. Devanagam Kritayebhyo Namo. Rudram says, Shrutishrutam Stukhishrutam Kartasadam Yuvanam Mriganna Bhimamupahatna Mugram. He is residing in the heart of all the Jivatmas and also in the hearts of the Devas. Of course, the Devas also come, Brahma and Vishnu also come under the Jiva Tattva category only. And it describes Virajamanam Umaya Dadrishur Deva Pungavam Savyotare Tarapadam Tadarhita Karambujam Swaganaihi Sarvato Jushtam Sarva Lakshana Lakshitam. Mahadeva is placing his right leg on his left thigh. Very beautiful scene. And with his lotus hands, Tava Karambujam, he is blessing everybody. And Shiva Ganas are around him. And then Parashakti, Umaya, Umaya Sahadevesha Nandivahana Muchyate. Parashakti, that Lalita Tripura Sundarani, is sitting on the left lap of Paramashiva. And then he is blessing all the Shiva Ganas, along with Ganapati and Kartikeya and Nandi also present. And various Shiva Ganas are present. And then Mahadeva senses this problem. Ata Brahmachyam. He senses the problem between Brahma and Vishnu. Brahma and Vishnu are fighting together. So he very well knows that. And then it is just like, when the children are fighting together, the father comes and stops. That's where Mahadeva will come now. Ata Brahmachyuto Virau Hantu Kamau Parasparam Maheshvarena Chastrena Tata Pashupatena Cha Astrajwalairato Dagdam Brahma Vishnavor Jagatrayam. Chapter 7, Vidyeshwara Samhita, verse 9 and 10. Brahma and Vishnu are fighting together. Brahma took the Pashupatastra and Achyuta, that is Vishnu, took the Maheshwara Astra, and they hurled it. Brahma hurled the Pashupatastra on Achyuta, that is Vishnu, and Vishnu hurled the Maheshwara Astra on Brahma. And they were fighting like this out of Ahankara, desirous of killing each other. And then Mahadeva, looking at this, it describes Mahanalastamba Vibhishana Kritir Babuva Tanmadhyatale Sanishkalaha Te Astre Chapi Sajwale Loka Samharana Kshame Nipate Tukshane Naiva Vavirbhute Mahanale. It describes Mahadeva, he assumed that formed Mahadeva, whom we described now, Shuddha Spatika Sankasham Trinetram Panchavaktrakam, that divine Hiranmaya Purusha, he appeared, that golden Purusha, that Mahadeva, that formed Mahadeva, exhibited his formlessness. He appeared in the form of an Agni Sthamba. He exhibited his formless aspect in front of Brahma and Vishnu. He appeared in the column of fire, Agni Sthambam, Anadyantamadhyam Param Tattvamartam Chidakaramekam Turiyam Tvameyam Hari Brahma Mrigyam Param Brahma Rupam Manovagatitam Makakshaiva Mide. Brahma and Hari were searching for the beginning and end of Lord Shiva. He appeared in the form of an Agni Sthamba. And the two weapons that were released, that were hurled by Brahma and Vishnu, they fell into that Agni Sthamba. They fell into the Agni Sthamba, and then Agni Sthamba gobbled the two weapons. And then both Brahma and Vishnu describe this Agni Sthamba. Kimetad adbhutakaram ityuchuscha parasparam atindri yamidam stambam agni rupam kimuttitam asyordvamapi chadascha avayor lakshyame. What is this Adbhut? What is this actually divine Agni Sthamba? They use the word Adbhuta. Where does the word Adbhuta come? Kaivalya Upanishad. Krit Pundarikam Virajam Vishuddham Vichintya Madhye Vishadam Vishokam Achintyam Avyaktam Anantarupam Shivam Prashantam Amritam Brahmayonim Tam Adi Madhya Anta Vihinamekam Vibhum Chidanandarupam Adbhutam. See, Upanishad uses the word Adbhutam for Mahadeva. And then it goes on to say, Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum Trilochanam Neelakantam Prashantam. That formlessness is the aspect of the formed Mahadeva. And then Mahadeva comes in that formless aspect to destroy, to crush the Ahankara of Brahma and Hari. And Brahma and Vishnu, they look at this Agni Sthamba. How Adbhutam this is. How wonderful this is. And then here we have to note one thing, guys. Mahadeva doesn't exhibit. Brahma and Vishnu are completely in Ahankara. This is where Mahadeva is not bound by Ahankara. We understand this. Mahadeva conducts a test. Mahadeva becomes the judge. And then he says, oh dear Brahma and Vishnu, why don't you go and search for my beginning and end? Oh dear Brahma and Vishnu, Brahma go in search of my beginning, my head, and Vishnu go in search of my end. And whoever is able to find my beginning or end, that person will be the winner. That person will be declared as the supreme. Now here, know the point, guys. Mahadeva doesn't proclaim himself to be the supreme. So he's not in ahankara. Oh, okay, guys, Brahma and Vishnu, what are you doing? I am the supreme reality. You have to worship me. He doesn't say that like Brahma and Vishnu. He conducts a test to destroy, to crush their ahankara. This is what a father does to their sons. Two sons are fighting together on supremacy. Hey, I'm the supreme. Hey, I'm the supreme. And father does. When father comes, both the sons keep quiet. And that is what Mahadeva does. Mahadeva doesn't proclaim himself to be the supreme. He makes them understand. He makes Brahma and Vishnu understand that he is the supreme reality by conducting a test. By conducting a test. And he becomes the judge of the test. That is the thing to be noted. And then Brahma and Vishnu, they go in search of the beginning and end of Mahadeva. And then Ati Saurabhya Mamlanam Bahuvarshat Tata Anvikshya cha Tayo Krityam Bhagavan Parameshwaraha. On seeing the fight of Brahma and Vishnu, Shiva was laughing at them. It is described our Mahadeva, Maheshwara, he laughed at Brahma and Vishnu. And when Mahadeva laughed, his head shook. When his head shook, the Ketaki, Talampu they will say in Tamil Nadu, Ketaki flower, which was on the head of Mahadeva, it fell down. And it is described that the Ketaki flower was dropping for eons and eons, millions of years, it was dropping. And then Vishnu actually went in search of the end and he was not able to find. Vishnu and then decided, okay, fine. This Agni Sthamba seems to be infinite. I was thinking that I was the supreme lord of the entire universe. I was bowed by ahankara. This Agni Sthamba seems to be infinite. And I have to surrender myself to this Agni Sthamba. Oh Mahadeva, Maheshwara, Samba, Shiva, Chandrasekhara. And then Vishnu, he falls flat. He realizes that. And this also happens by the grace of Mahadeva. Through the grace of Maheshwara, who is residing in the heart of all the living entities, Vishnu comes to know that is this the personality who is the cause of this Agni Sthamba is the supreme lord of the entire universe. And I have to surrender unto him. Namastestu tvameva sharanam gataha, Vishnu says. And then he falls, he does Sashtanga Namaskara to that Agni Sthamba. Sashtanga Namaskara is your hands, your feet, your chest, and also your face touching the ground. And women are not supposed to do this, men are supposed to do this. For a woman, it is just the feet and the forehead should touch the ground when they do Namaskaram. And Vishnu does Sashtanga Namaskara to that Agni Sthamba. And we are going to see what our dear Brahma does. And then Brahma actually, he keeps searching. He actually keeps searching. He is going up and he is trying to search the beginning of Mahadeva, that is the head of Mahadeva. And then he looks at the Ketaki flower that is actually falling down. And then Brahma asks the Ketaki flower, who are you? And then the Ketaki flower says, I am actually the Ketaki flower. I am dropping from the head of Mahadeva. And then Brahma becomes ecstatic. Yes! Yeah! He becomes very ecstatic. Which means the head of Mahadeva is very near. I'm going to see the head of Mahadeva and I'm going to prove that I am the supreme in front of Vishnu. So he becomes ecstatic. And then Ketaki flower laughs at Brahma. Oh, you foolish Brahma, what are you saying? I have been falling for millions and millions of years. Oh, foolish Brahma. You can never find the head of Mahadeva. You can never find the beginning of Mahadeva. And then Brahma, thought, fine. And then Brahma thinks, okay, fine. Let's devise a plan. Let me devise a plan actually. So he says to Ketaki flower, you have to come actually to Vishnu and then say that I have seen the beginning of this Agni Sthamba. And then Ketaki flower says, okay, fine, I will do that. And then he comes down, and then Brahma and Vishnu meet, and then Ketaki flower becomes the Sakshi. Actually, Brahma has not seen the beginning. No one can see the beginning. Even Brahma and Vishnu cannot see the beginning of Lord Shiva. But Brahma lies in order to proclaim the supremacy. He wants to be worshipped. And then Brahma lies actually. And then Ketaki flower also supports here. So here one point to be noted is Vishnu realizes the truth that Paramashiva alone can be the supreme reality. And he accepts the truth. Whereas Brahma lies. Vidim prahartum shatamagni lingatak sa ishwaras tatra babuva sakriti samuttitak swami vilokanat punak prakampa panik parigrihya tatpadam आद्यन्तहीन वपुषी त्वयि मोहबुद्धया भूयात् विमर्श इह नावती कामनोत्तः सत्वं प्रसीद करुणाकर कश्मलं नौ मृष्टं क्षमस्व विहितं भवतैव केल्या. After hearing the lies of Brahma, Mahadeva comes in his divine form, Shuddha Spatika Sankasham Trinetram Panchavaktarakam, in that form. So we can understand, I was talking that the Nishkala aspect, the Arupa aspect, the Linga is the Arupa aspect of the formed Maheshwara. Saguna Brahman, Mahadeva is described as Saguna Brahman. So we saw there was a video, I have also released a video on my channel where actually Vishnu meditates initially on Maheshwara and he looks at a Jyoti. That Jyoti is that aspect, Anantatvam of that Maheshwara, Sarvatvam of Maheshwara. And when he meditates on the Jyoti, Mahadeva says, oh Vishnu, your knowledge is incomplete. And then when he eats the sacred ash and he bathes with the sacred ash, why? Because Bhasma is very, very important to realize Shiva Tattva. So he eats and the bathes with the sacred ash and then he meditates and then he looks at the form of Maheshwara. And the Maheshwara who is standing in front of me is the one who is residing in the heart and he falls at the feet of Maheshwara. Na shaktim basmano jane prabhavam va kutastava namastestu tvameva sharanam gataha. Mahadeva, I cannot even understand the glories of the sacred ash. How can I understand your glories, O Mahadeva? And he does Sharanagati to Maheshwara. So here, when Vishnu meditates on the form of Maheshwara, his knowledge becomes complete. And that's where here, the point to be noted is, Brahma thought, okay fine, this Agni Sthamba is something, it's nothing but a jada. But Vishnu realized that there is a personality behind this Agni Sthamba and that personality only to be resorted to. I have to surrender to that personality and he was waiting there. But Brahma thought this to be a jada. Oh, this is nothing. If just Ketaki flower, if she comes and informs, and then I will proclaim myself to be the supreme and Vishnu will start worshipping me. That was the idea. That was the attitude of Brahma. He never realized this, the personality behind this Agni Sthamba. And then when Brahma lied, that Mahadeva, he comes in the beautiful divine spiritual form along with Parashakti sitting in the left lap. He comes in that Shuddha Spatika Sankasha form.